This week on Fox News Watch, YouTube was the star of the debate. Will it also be the star of the campaign? On the panel this week are four people who have never been busted for DUI. No wonder they're not bigger stars. Jim Pinkerton of Newsday, City Today columnist Cal Thomas, Jane Hall of the American University, and media writer Neil Gabler. I'm Eric Burns. Fox News Watch is on right now.
This is such a revolutionary debate that if you as politicians can do something revolutionary, and that is to actually answer the questions that are posed to you tonight versus beating around the bush, so to speak, that would be wonderful.
Hello, Democratic candidates. I've been growing concerned that global warming, the single most important issue to the snowmen of this country, is being neglected. As president, what will you do to ensure that my son will live a full and happy life? Thank you.
The Washington Post said the debate underscored the arrival of the internet as a force in politics. But the Los Angeles Times had a different view, saying the event didn't amount to a lot more than an interesting town hall. It remained mostly a one-way conversation. Powerful people talking to a giant screen. And a rabbit, which reminds me of, what was that? Wasn't it?
Snowman.
Reminds me of
Mr. Bill from Saturday Night Live.
And Chuck Barris's old show. Remember the Gong Show? Irrelevant. I apologize. Jim, was, in fact, this debate, in terms of its editorial content provided by people on YouTube, a step up or a step down?
It was fresh. I'll give it that. It was imaginative. It's fun to hear real people as opposed to the usual hack journalists just asking. Well, I mean, I think we should say that it led to the most interesting departure in the Democratic presidential race now, the split between Hillary and Obama over whether or not to negotiate with enemy regimes. So, I mean, in that sense, it probably, the people thought the news would be the technology and YouTube. In fact, the news into the weekend is now this major thing inside the Democratic primary.
Well, I give CNN a B+ for trying to change the form, but an F on the substance. Look, these are serious times with serious issues, and I think this was more of a gimmick. All those lecterns look like Jeopardy on steroids or a version of The Price is Right. Hey, Democratic candidates, come on down. What are you worth? And they also, without having hacked journalists, as Jim put it, they missed the follow-up questions. Both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama took different positions, entirely opposite positions, on the immediate withdrawal of troops from Iraq. Hillary Clinton, as recently as April of this year, said something entirely different than what she had said on the debate. There was no journalist there to follow up.
Well, Neil, we had a drop in ratings, a slight drop in ratings from this debate compared
overall, a slight uptick in the 18 to 34 demographic, which is what they're aiming for.
Yeah. Let's broaden the topic a little. Is YouTube going to be an important force in the campaign? And if so, will it be for the reason you just stated, that is a way to reach younger potential voters?
Well, I think it will be important, not as a debate mechanism, but I think you're right. Through viral videos and things of that nature, it may further engage young voters. But the problem with the debate here, and I think the problem for YouTube generally, is that it's yoked to traditional media. This was CNN televising the debate, not the public going to see the debate on the internet.
Why is that a problem?
This is the problem with that. Because you get then the typical media analysis, the typical media spin. You have Ann Kornblatt of the Washington Post talking about the coat that Hillary Clinton wore. In other words, you get all the bad habits of the traditional media and little of the freshness of the new media.
Yeah, but John Edwards brought up the thing of the coat that Hillary was wearing.
You know, I think it was a pretty cool idea. I think it was also an interesting new media, old media story, which is the old media, CNN, which is only 27 but is old compared to YouTube, trying to reach younger viewers, just as the politicians are trying to reach younger voters. I thought it was pretty cool. I agree with Jeff Jarvis. It would have been even cooler if the public had voted on the questions, because it was like a mediated chat. And the 3,000 people, that's not that many people, really, in terms of how many people watch George Allen's gaffe. I think that's where YouTube has played more of a role.
That was my point.
Jim, will we see YouTube playing a major role in the campaign?
I think because Google owns it, they will muscle their way into the debate and the presidential campaign many, many times over and over again. And Google's so powerful that everybody's going to want to suck up to them one way or another.
And aren't the candidates going to welcome this, Cal, because it will be so much cheaper than buying time on the networks? Now, they may and probably will do that anyhow, but they can cut back on buying network airtime and just put it on the internet.
That's an element, but what concerns me, you and I as reporters who knew the way it was before, is that once the trivialities become the norm, once, as Jim said, the macaca comments by George Allen become repeated over and over, you lose the substance. It's like eating junk food. You get used to it, you get addicted to it, and you don't have time for the gourmet meal anymore.
Callum, I said he knew how it was before. He means in both of our cases, black and white.
Radio.
Oh, please.
Black and white. Time for a break. We'll be back with this.